The afternoon sky over the small mountain village was peaceful. Children were playing. Shopkeepers were closing their stalls, and birds circled above the trees. Nothing seemed strange at all until the air suddenly changed. A deep rumble came from far above, like thunder rolling across the mountains. Eli Ward looked up from the motorcycle he was fixing. He heard something unusual in the sky, something heavy and powerful. He stepped out of his workshop and squinted into the sunlight. A huge black shadow moved across the clouds. The villagers stopped and stared. The shadow grew larger and larger, shaking the ground with every passing second. The birds scattered. Dogs barked. People shouted in fear. Then the clouds tore open with a loud blast of wind. Something enormous fell from the sky. A massive shape crashed into the forest beyond the village, splitting trees and throwing dirt high into the air. The ground shook under everyone's feet. People screamed and ran indoors. Some dropped their baskets and tools. Others locked their doors and covered their windows. Eli did not run. He stood frozen, trying to understand what he had just seen. Smoke rose above the trees. The birds were gone. The mountain felt strangely silent. Then a sound reached him, something between a roar and a cry. It wasn't human. It wasn't an animal he recognized. It sounded in pain. Eli's heart pounded. No way that wasn't plain. He grabbed a flashlight, his tool bag, and a heavy jacket. While everyone else hid inside their homes, he headed towards a forest. The ground near the trees was warm, as if something huge had burned through it. Branches snapped under his boots as he pushed deeper into the forest. The smell of smoke and ash grew stronger. He followed the trail of broken trees until he reached a large crater. And there, lying in the middle of it, was a creature he had only seen in old legends. A dragon. Its scales were dark silver, like metal touched by fire. Its wings were torn and bleeding. Smoke rose from his body as it tried to breathe. Its long tail twitched weakly in the dirt. Eli froze. Every instinct told him to turn around and run. But the dragon didn't look threatening. It looked hurt, badly hurt. He took one step forward. The dragon's eyes snapped open, brilliant blue, glowing like ice. Eli raised both hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The dragon stared at him, confused, breathing hard. A low growl rumbled from his throat, but it did not move to attack. Instead, it struggled, trying to lift its head. It couldn't. Eli noticed metal fragments embedded in the dragon's wings. Burn marks covered its body. "You were shot down," he whispered. The dragon blinked slowly, almost like it understood. Eli took a deep breath and moved closer. "Look, I can help. A little. I'm not a doctor, but I can try to remove the metal." The dragon lifted its head a few inches, then dropped it again. Its breathing grew shallow. Eli realized it wouldn't survive much longer if he didn't help right now. He knelt beside the creature and put his hand on one of the metal shards. The dragon tensed, but Eli shook his head. "I know it hurts, but if I don't remove this, you'll bleed more." He pulled the shard out quickly. The dragon roared loudly, and a shockwave of hot air blew across the crater. Eli covered his face from the heat, but he didn't run. He removed the next piece, and then another. The dragon watched him with confused, tired eyes. After several minutes, Eli stepped back, breathing heavily. "That's all I can do for now." He thought the dragon would try to fly away or attack, but it didn't. Instead, it lowered its giant head and looked at him more gently. Then something impossible happened. A voice, deep and rough, echoed inside Eli's mind. "Human, why do you help me?" Eli stumbled backward in shock. "You can talk." The dragon did not move its mouth, but the voice continued. "I speak through thought, but answer me. Why help?" Eli swallowed hard. "Because you're hurt, and because nobody else will come." The dragon stared at him for a long moment. The wind blew through the broken trees. Snow began to fall lightly around them. Finally, the dragon spoke again. "My name is Kaelrix." Eli stepped closer again. "I'm Eli." Kaelrix blinked slowly, as if memorizing the name. Then another thought entered Eli's mind, strong and heavy. "Eli, I did not fall. I was attacked." Eli frowned. Attacked? By who? Calyx's eyes darkened with fear. A fear so deep Eli could feel inside his bones. A danger is coming. A danger that hunts dragons, and soon humans. Eli felt chills run down his spine. The sky above the crater grew darker, as if the world itself was reacting to those words. Calyx exhaled weakly. I need help. Your help. Only humans can stop what follows me. Eli stared at the wounded dragon, realizing his quiet life was over. Something huge and terrifying had entered his world, and somehow he was now part of it. He nodded slowly. I'll help you, Calyx. Whatever is coming, we'll face it together. The dragon closed its eyes, relieved. And in that moment, the fate of dragons and humans quietly began to change. Eli walked beside Calyx as the dragon slowly moved through the forest. The ground trembled under each step, but Calyx was weak and tired. His wings dragged behind him, leaving long marks in the dirt. Snowflakes fell gently, landing on his burnt scales. Eli kept looking around nervously. Are you sure nobody followed you? Calyx's voice echoed inside his mind. Not yet, but they will come. They always follow the wounded. The words made Eli's stomach twist. He didn't know who they were, but the fear in Calyx's tone made it clear. Whatever chased him was dangerous. They reached a cliff at the far end of the forest. It was tall, covered in ice and old moss. To Eli, it looked like nothing more than a giant stone wall. But Calyx stopped right in front of it. Eli frowned. This is a rock. Calyx pressed a clawed hand against the stone. A faint blue light glowed beneath his scales. Suddenly, the entire cliff cracked, quietly, smoothly, and opened like a hidden door. Behind it lay an enormous tunnel, swirling with warm golden light. Eli stared with wide eyes. This was here the whole time? The entrance to my world has been hidden for centuries, Calyx replied. Humans were not meant to find it. Eli swallowed. Then why bring me? Calyx lowered his head. Because the danger chasing us is bigger than my world. Bigger than yours. Only together can we survive. They stepped inside the glowing tunnel. The air grew warmer. The ground became smooth, almost like polished stone. Eli noticed ancient carvings on the walls. Dragons in battle. Dragons flying above mountains. Dragons standing proudly beside humans. He stopped. Wait. Humans were here before. Calyx's wings twitched. Long ago, before the worlds drifted apart. Eli wanted to ask more, but the tunnel suddenly widened, opening into a breathtaking sight. A vast underground valley stretched out before him. Lakes filled with glowing water. Giant trees with silver leaves. Huge caves lit by crystals that shone like stars. And flying through the warm air, dragons. Dozens of them. Some were green with long horns, others red with broad wings. Some were small like horses, others as large as mountains. Their scales shimmered in different colors as they flew over the glowing trees. Eli stepped back in shock. This is real. All of this is real. Calyx walked forward slowly. Welcome to Dranver, the Dragon Kingdom. But as soon as they entered, the sky above the valley darkened with movement. Dragons circled and roared. A massive gold dragon descended from the sky and landed in front of them. His wings stirred the ground like a storm. He was huge, twice as large as Calyx, with golden scales that looked like fire. Eli froze. Calyx lowered his head. This is High Lord Veradon, leader of our council. Veradon's voice boomed loudly inside Eli's skull. Calyx, you returned wounded, and you bring a human. Calyx lifted his head weakly. He helped me. He saved my life. Veradon snorted, sending sparks from his nostrils. Humans do not save dragons. Humans fear dragons. Eli stepped forward despite the shaking in his legs. I didn't have a choice. He needed help. The golden dragon's eyes narrowed. And you expect us to believe you came here out of kindness? Eli clenched his fists. I came because he was hurt. That's it. I don't want anything from you. A group of younger dragons landed around them, whispering. Some looked afraid of Eli. Others looked curious. One small blue dragon asked, Is that a real human? Another replied, They are tiny. How do they walk with such soft feet? Eli sighed. Great. I'm a zoo animal. Kaorix growled softly. Enough. He is my ally. Veradon stepped closer, lowering his massive head until his golden eyes were level with Eli's. Human, do you know what follows Kaorix? Eli shook his head. He only said something dangerous attacked him. Veradon's expression darkened. The Void Swarm, a parasite force that destroys dragon realms. They hunt us across dimensions. A heavy silence filled the air. Kaorix whispered, They destroyed my home. I am the last of my flight. Veradon turned toward Eli again. Why bring him here? Kaorix? A human cannot fight the swarm. Kaorix lifted his wings slowly. He can. Humans carry a rare energy inside them. The swarm cannot infect them. Gasps spread to the dragons nearby. Eli blinked. Wait, what energy? Kaorix looked at him gently. You call it human will, the power to resist. The swarm fears it. Veradon growled. Even if true, this human is small. Weak. He cannot help us win. Eli looked up at the golden dragon. I didn't ask to be part of a war. But if Kaorix believes I can help, I'll try. The dragons murmured among themselves. Veradon studied him for a long moment, then finally stepped back. Very well. The council will decide your role. But human, if you betray us, you will not leave these mountains alive. Eli nodded. Fair enough. Kaorix gently tapped Eli's shoulder with the tip of his wing. Do not worry. I will guide you. Eli exhaled slowly. He had walked into a hidden world of dragons. And now, they expected him to help save it. Eli woke up to the sound of distant roars echoing through the glowing valley. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he sat up and remembered. He was in the Dragon Kingdom, deep underground, surrounded by creatures from legends. Kaorix stood outside the small crystal hut where Eli had rested. The dragon looked stronger today. His burnt scales were slowly healing, but there was still worry in his eyes. The council wants to meet you, Kaorix said gently. Eli took a deep breath and followed him. They walked through the valley, passing dragons of all colors and sizes. Some watched Eli with fear. Some watched him with curiosity. A few even flew lower just to get a closer look at him. A small green dragon whispered to his friend, That is the human? The one Kaorix brought. Another said, He does not look dangerous, just tiny. Eli winced. I really need better PR down here. Kaorix gave a small laugh. Give them time. They reached the council hall, a giant stone circle lit by bright blue crystals. 5 elder dragons stood there, each larger and older than any dragon Eli had seen. Veradon, the golden High Lord, stepped forward. Human Eli, we have studied the energy inside you. Eli blinked. How? A silver dragon answered. We read your life force. Eli whispered to Kaorix. Great. They can scan souls. Veradon continued. Your will is stronger than most humans. Strong enough that the Void Swarm cannot corrupt you. Eli scratched his head. Okay, but how does that help you? A red elder dragon lowered her head. Because our magic cannot stop the swarm's infection. But your will can block it. Kaorix stepped beside Eli. If he trains with us, he can become a shield for kingdom. Eli's eyes widened. Hold on. Shield? Against monsters that chase dragons across dimensions. The dragons nodded. Eli sighed. Yeah, this just keeps getting better. But something unexpected happened. Instead of laughing at him, the dragons around him looked hopeful. Their eyes were filled with a strange trust, as if they believed he could truly help them. Veradon spoke again. We wish to test your strength. Not your body, your mind. Eli crossed his arms. Fine. What do I have to do? The dragons led him to a large platform surrounded by glowing runes. The symbols lifted into the air like floating light. A gentle hum filled the space. Stand in the center. Veradon ordered. Eli did. The runes glowed brighter. Suddenly, the world around him went dark. He was no longer in the Dragon Kingdom. He stood in a shadowy place with swirling mist. Strange whispers circled him. Sharp shapes moved in the darkness. A voice hissed from behind him. Human weak, break. Eli felt a pressure on his chest. Memories flashed in his mind. Fear, doubt, every mistake he had ever made. The pressure grew stronger. His legs trembled. He wanted to panic. But then he heard Kael'rik's voice, echoing faintly as if from far away. You are not alone, Eli. Focus. Remember who you are. Eli closed his eyes. He remembered Kael'rik's falling from the sky. He remembered the dragons looking at him with fear and hope. He remembered how he felt when he decided to help. He opened his eyes and shouted, I'm not weak. The darkness cracked like broken glass. Light burst through. The whispers vanished. Eli stood tall as the shadows dissolved completely. The glowing platform returned. The Dragon Council watched him in stunned silence. Viridon finally said, Incredible. You destroyed the illusion faster than any dragon trainee. Another elder whispered, His spirit, it is stronger than we expected. Kael'rik walked to Eli, pride shining in his eyes. You see? This is why I trusted him. Eli was still breathing heavily, but he managed to smile. So did I pass? Viridon bowed his huge head, a gesture dragons almost never used. Human Eli, you have proven that you can stand against the swarm's influence. You did not come here to be our shield. You came to change our destiny. Eli blinked. Change your destiny? Me? The Red Elder spoke softly. For centuries, dragons believed humans were weak. But today, you showed us something different. A group of young dragons hurried closer, staring at Eli with wide eyes. One whispered, He defeated the illusion. Another said, Maybe humans are not small, maybe they are strong in a different way. Eli rubbed the back of his neck, shy and overwhelmed. Kael'rik nudged him gently. You change how they see you. You change how they see all humans. Viridon spread his huge golden wings. From this day forward, you are not a visitor. You are an ally of the Dragon Kingdom, and you will maybe the key to our survival. Eli exhaled slowly. Somehow, without meaning to, he had already begun changing the fate of dragons, and the real battle had not even started. The sky above the Dragon Kingdom turned dark long before the battle began. Thick black clouds gathered like smoke from a giant fire. The ground itself vibrated, as if something massive was crawling toward the world. Eli stood on a high cliff beside Kael'rik's, looking at the sky in fear and disbelief. Is that them? He asked. Kael'rik's nodded slowly. The void swarm. They finally found us. Far above, strange shapes appeared, dark insect-like creatures with glowing purple lines across their bodies. Hundreds, thousands, the massive army spreading across the burning sky. Dragons flew into the air, creating a defensive wall. Their scales shined with magic. Their wings beat like thunder. Still, the swarm kept coming. Eli's heart raced. He had never seen anything so terrifying. Viridon, the Golden Elder, landed beside him. Human Eli, the dragons will fight in the sky. But you must protect their minds. The swarm uses fear. They try to break the spirit. Eli swallowed hard. So no pressure. Kael'rik placed a claw gently on his shoulder. You are ready. I believe in you. Eli took a deep breath and stepped forward onto the glowing platform the dragons had built for him. Runes lit up around his feet, connecting his mind to the dragons above. The battle started with a loud roar. Dragons shot into the sky like fiery missiles. Fire, lightning, and crystal blasts filled the air. The swarm answered with purple beams that twisted like snakes. The air shook with explosions. Kael'rik flew upward and joined the fight. Flames burst from his mouth, turning several swarm creatures into ash. But for every one that fell, more arrived. Eli closed his eyes and reached out with his mind. He felt the fear of dozens of dragons. The swarm's whispers crawled into their heads, trying to weaken their courage. He pushed back. He sent a wave of calm and strength toward them. It was strange, like speaking without words, touching their thoughts. Slowly, dragons who were shaking steadied their wings again. One young dragon cried out, I can feel the human. He's helping. Another shouted, Fight harder. We are not alone. Eli opened his eyes, shocked. He could sense their hope rising. But the swarm was not finished. A giant creature rose from the dark clouds, larger than any elder dragon. Its wings were made of shadow, and its eyes glowed like burning stars. The air around it twisted like it was alive. Veradon gasped. The Swarm Lord. Even the bravest dragons trembled. The Swarm Lord roared. The sky rippled with purple fire. Half the dragons were thrown back by the shockwave. Eli fell to his knees as the fear hit him like a hammer. Whispers filled his mind again. You are small, powerless, worthless. His hands shook. Sweat ran down his face. He felt the darkness trying to crush him. But then he heard Calyx's voice echo through the bond. Eli, look at us. We need you. Do not break. Eli forced himself to stand. I'm not breaking. Not today. He reached deep inside, past the fear, past the doubt, and found the strength he had shown before. But this time, he pushed harder. He sent a blast of pure determination outward. The darkness cracked. Dragons gasped as the fear lifted from their minds. Veradon roared. The human has cleared our spirits. Attack! Dragons surged upward again with new fury. Firestorms lit the sky. Lightning arced like 1,000 burning rivers. The swarm began to fall one by one. But the Swarm Lord refused to go down. It charged at Calyx, claws glowing with dark power. Eli felt Calyx's fear spike. Without thinking, he pushed his mind forward, channeling his strength directly into Calyx. Calyx's eyes glowed bright blue. He dodged the Swarm Lord's attack and blasted it with a wave of white fire. The light tore through the creature's wing. It screamed in pain. Veradon and 2 other elders joined Calyx. Together, they attacked from all sides. The Swarm Lord tried to fight back, but Eli kept pouring courage and energy into the dragons. The sky shook with the force of their clash. Then, with one final coordinated strike, the dragons unleashed a combined blast of fire, crystal, lightning, and willpower. The Swarm Lord broke apart into dust. The rest of the swarm panicked and fled into the tearing clouds, disappearing back into the void they came from. Silence fell across the sky. The dragons slowly returned to ground, tired, bruised, bloodied, but alive. Calyx landed beside Eli and folded his wings. His voice was soft. We survived because of you. Eli shook his head. No, we survived because we fought together. Veradon approached, bowing his massive head low. Human, Eli, today you did more than fight. You saved the heart of the Dragon Kingdom. Around them, dozens of dragons looked at Eli with newfound respect. In the burning sky above, the clouds began to clear. Light slowly returned. Eli stared upward, breathing heavily but proud. For the first time, he truly believed it. Humanity could stand beside dragons, and together they could win any battle. The sky above the Dragon Kingdom slowly returned to blue as the last of the dark clouds faded. The air smelled of smoke, fire, and victory. Dragons rested across the mountains, their wings tired but their spirits alive. None of them could forget how close they had come to losing everything. Eli stood at the edge of the cliff where the battle had begun. His clothes were burned, his hair was messy, and his hands still shook from the effort. But he felt something he had never felt before, quiet pride. He had protected an entire kingdom that was not even his own. Calyx walked toward him, wings folded, his scales shining in the sunlight. He looked injured but strong. You did more than anyone expected, he said softly. You did more than any dragon. Eli laughed a little. I didn't even know dragons existed a few days ago. And now, Calyx replied, you have changed our future. A loud horn echoed across the mountains. Dragons lifted their heads, confused at first, then excited. Veradon, the Golden Elder, stood on a high platform calling for everyone to gather. The dragons spread their wings and flew toward him, landing in a huge half-circle around the platform. Eli followed Calyx up the stone steps. When Eli reached the top, every dragon in the kingdom was watching him. Some had bandages. Some were still trembling. But all of them looked at him with respect. Veradon raised his voice. Today our world was saved. Not by fire, not by ancient magic, but by a human. The wind carried his words far across the mountains. Dragons murmured, their deep voices spreading like a wave. Viradon continued. We once believed humans were weak, small, simple, but Eli Ward has proven that a human heart can stand stronger than any power of the void. Eli lowered his eyes, embarrassed. He wasn't used to speeches or being in front of crowds. He fixed tractors, not kingdoms. Kaelrix whispered, Lift your head. This honor is yours. Eli looked up again. Viradon spread his wings wide. By the law of the Dragon Council, we named Eli Ward the Guardian of the Heartfire, the first human in history to earn a dragon title. A shock moved through the crowd. Dragons bowed, every one of them, lowering their heads toward Eli. The sound of their wings brushing the ground was like thunder. Eli stood frozen. I don't know what to say. You do not need words, Viradon said. Your actions already spoke. Kaelrix stepped forward and placed an ancient silver crest around Eli's neck. It glowed faintly with warm light. Eli touched it carefully. What is it? A promise, Kaelrix said. A promise that dragons will stand with you and with your people. The ceremony ended with a roar that shook the air. Dragons lifted off, circling the mountains in celebration. Fire shot into the sky like fireworks. But the biggest surprise came later. When Eli returned home to his small village, he expected things to be simple again, maybe some peace and rest. But the moment he arrived, the entire valley was filled with reporters, scientists, government officials, and hundreds of people staring in shock. Eli groaned. Oh no! Someone screamed, He's back! The Dragon Guardian. Another shouted, Is it true you saved a whole kingdom? A third yelled, Did you really ride a dragon? Eli turned red. Can we please calm down? But before he could finish, a massive shadow passed over the village. Everyone looked up. Kaelrix soared overhead, landing softly on the grass behind Eli. Most people screamed and ran. Some fainted. Eli rubbed his forehead. Kaelrix, maybe you shouldn't have done that. Kaelrix blinked. I thought humans would be pleased. Eli sighed. Some will, some won't. But something amazing happened. A small child walked up to Kaelrix without fear. She reached out and gently touched his claw. You're beautiful, she whispered. Kaelrix froze in surprise. The crowd became silent. Then, slowly, people stepped forward. Some still nervous, some excited. They touched Kaelrix's scales. They asked questions. They smiled. And in that moment, everything changed. The world saw that dragons were not monsters. They were allies. News spread across the planet within hours. A human had saved dragons. Dragons had trusted a human. The old stories of fear were replaced with stories of hope. A year later, humans and dragons had formed the first shared research base, studying old dragon magic and new human technology together. Trade began. Travel began. Trust began. Kaelrix often visited Eli's village, now known as the Guardian's home. Eli sometimes sat on the hill overlooking the valley, the silver crest around his neck glowing softly. He still felt like the same simple mechanic, but he now carried a new truth, one he had earned with courage. A single human can change the fate of worlds, and dragons never forgot the human who helped them when their sky was burning. The world had been shocked, but it had been changed for the better.